Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome. It has been so long, you guys. I'm so sorry for that little page break. I think there's gonna be a few videos I'm gonna put before this one, so time sequence won't be seamless, but however, it's been 2 weeks since I've filmed, since I've gotten back into the swing of things. Kay's been going through a lot here behind the scenes for quite a while, and truth be told, it's like I have not been myself. But I'm hoping to just come up here a little bit candid, and in that time I just was going through something, coming out of a little rut, coming out of a little transitional period for me. Let's put this on silent, please. Yes, thank you. Just coming out of a season. I was breaking through basically a spiritual rut, a spiritual laziness, a spiritual fog. I was noticing how much I allowed the enemy to control me and what I needed to break away from finally. There was a lot that I needed to, I guess, finally see, finally be obedient to, I guess, clear with in my life, what I needed to finally confront and come to terms with and like work on. I think that I was just coming from a weekend of like crying and feeling anxious, which I never do, which, you know, I'll get to at a different time, a story time on that. But I was trying to film something when I guess it wasn't the right timing per se, while I'm trying to be upfront and like not only show you guys the good parts of good faith with Kay, but also show you guys the times when I'm down, the times when, you know, I might come out of a realization or having to step out into warfare. I also want to be cautious about how I appear. So I really had to check in my spirit about like rushing to upload that. I'm grateful for when I try to be consistent and really have my cup be filled, really be spiritually, physically, mentally ready to film and come up here and be all in. And if I'm not, then I try to work that out. But I get that we all can't come up here perfect. In this world, we all are not perfect. But also, I needed that time to really like stop and pause. Father had to start showing me things in the past few months, and checking my spirit, showing me that like I need to confront what's going on. It was basically getting to the root of what was overwhelming me, what was causing me to be anxious, why I was kind of like disheveled in my passions and my desire to do things. Long and the short, that's a little bit of a explanation to my absence, and I do love you all. I do enjoy coming up here, but also I want to work on my speech and public speaking again too, where, and really this has to do with, I guess, myself in a spiritual sense too, where I can be filled properly spiritually, can come to the word, and that's non-negotiable, and I'm constantly reaching out to our main source, Yahuwah HaMashiach, coming to his word, soaking up in prayer constantly. And that way I can have a clear mind and clear space and concise thinking when I was going through all I was going through and truly not being myself. Like I no longer was having the desire to create, no longer was like having a momentum, no longer was creating, and I was like adjusting in so many areas, and it was so much. However, what I will say, I'm so thankful for the mercies of the Most High, because like while I was out doing my own thing in a way and was kind of being like tossed here and there and like wearing different hats of like full-time work, of trying to stay spiritually strong and close with the Most High and nurture that and like be sober-minded and clear-headed, like spiritually, to just have discernment in my life and know where the enemy is trying to control or attack or tire me out. The next hat of like I don't know, family, household, cleaning, dynamics, relations. Next hat of like friendships. So many different hats. Next hat of like what fills me up, what does Kay like to do, and like finding my outlet outside of work, because that's so important that I'm learning to navigate work-life balance. That's incredibly important. I'm literally going through such a transitional stage and trying to like divide my life and like, but still grow in my womanhood and mature further and like be assertive and like blossom into adult K and not walk in old habits, and trying to navigate that. But I guess this segues well into today's video. So I have a basket of laundry here, which I'm gonna get to folding some clothes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're gonna fold and talk. But basically, my convictions started with when I read this book last year, Woman Thou Art Bound. I will link this, can I speak? I will link this in the description. This book is a really great book and is super inspiring, is super motivating, is super encouraging and convicting for women, like biblical women, for women in our day and age. And it talks about what I guess stereotypes are held amongst women, and also like it like encourages women to look at like ourselves today from biblical women of the Israelites. And these pages discuss like what kind of biblical woman are you? And then she asked that as a question. I highly encourage you guys to purchase this book and read it. It's super affordable. It's I think $10 or $11. If you guys can't afford it right now, don't feel forced to. Only if you're led. Pray about it, and if you're led to purchase it, go ahead. But basically, what got me to thinking like, what woman am I, or what I want to be as a believer in my 20s, currently 22. You know, I have some strengths in some areas, but I definitely have some weakness in others. And blessedly, the Most High is strong where we are weak, and we all are constantly being improved and refined and prayerfully remolded and shaped for His glory. Okay, so hold grace, but also we always have to be checking ourselves, receptive and thankful for convictions that the Most High will send us about ourselves, because we should want to improve and want to change. Like I said in my Modesty video, I want to be changed, and I know precisely what prayer I'm praying. I know how powerful that prayer can be, because if we ask for change, the Most High will be like, heard you. In reading this book, I think it's only 100-something pages, it was extremely empowering of what woman do I want to perceive to be, how do I want to conduct myself. With that, this basically helped me to notice that like I have a lot of space to improve in, and for a while, I would say maybe the past year or so, I have not been fully myself, I guess, by all that I was going through. But now I'm starting to get things together, get myself together, get my head back on straight in a way of like not being discouraged, and not allowing things to affect me. And there was it's a whole long list of things that I realized about myself where I heavily sweep things under the rug. I do not confront things that affect me. I kind of internalize it, which is not healthy at all. And I also do not speak up for myself, and list goes on. I realize too that I can get, while I am a kind-hearted person, I recently heard this podcast, which really was a blessing to hear, heard this podcast on the difference between niceness and kindness, and how they can be misconstrued, basically. And basically the whole contrast of that, which I was like, oh, I need to really check myself while I'm trying to be kind, and I guess mostly speaking to like not speaking up for myself and preserving others' feelings, but in the long run I can be suffering. And I'm thinking, I guess that's just my kindness, or I do it unintentionally. I realize I do it intentionally, and it's like almost a mechanism that I've developed, which is not healthy. But I said, but after hearing that podcast, I'm like, this isn't being kind. This is being nice. And the difference between niceness and kindness is like when the podcasters did the breakdown, they realized that the definition of niceness, one of the synonyms to that was agreeable. One who's willing to compromise, one who's willing to make sacrifices even if they're suffering. And that's what I kind of also had an upbringing of thinking to do, or was raised to do in order to support others, but realizing that isn't healthy. However, being kind, you still set boundaries for yourself. You can still be honest with people. You still can set that boundary and not be agreeable. If you, small example, if you're not available at X amount of time, you can kindly just say, I'm not available at this time. However, I can help you tomorrow. I can help you Monday. I can help you later on. And if they can't accommodate, you gotta be firm on that boundary. While learning all these mechanisms that I have, that I haven't been confronting, like I wasn't myself because I've been running dry, running empty. My cup was not filled. Things that I love to do, I wasn't doing. Things that I needed to do, I wasn't doing. Being clear-minded and attentive to myself spiritually, and having set apart prayer time and time in the Word, I wasn't really doing certain things that I should have been praying for. I would either be forgetful and not pray on these things, and that left me susceptible spiritually to face attacks. And it's like, as well as I wasn't praying for the armor daily, and that is almost dangerous spiritually, because we need to be covered daily. And if we are not, like I wasn't for months, I'm susceptible for attacks from the enemy, and that's what was been going on. I was running dry. I basically ended up having a mental or emotional breakdown. This happened at work, and I was like, oh my goodness, Kay, you need to pay attention to yourself, what is going on. And this led me to all these convictions and things that I need to confront. It is 2 weeks later, and I'm doing way better, much better, and focusing on myself way more than I was before, because I had to pull the brakes and like comb and sift through each thing that I was not confronting or paying attention to. Really start to let go of habits that I developed, and realized that was affecting me greatly. I now have a better method of like doing a little prayer list on my phone in the morning, getting back into my prayer journaling life, so that I do not forget the things that I am, that I need to pray for, and not neglect myself again, spiritually that is, and physically, because I have, and that absolutely is unhealthy for yourself, physically, and may I emphasize again, spiritually, okay? And we have to be sober-minded. We have to constantly remember to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling, okay? And that does not mean to neglect yourself and try to solve every other issue that's going on around you, okay? So with that, that takes me to like my next conviction that I had was and still is currently is to basically cut off members that cause you to sin. It was a really bold, well, Father will have you make bold changes in your life, okay? And when you pray certain things, you ought to remember it, because He will deliver on His promises, okay? He will deliver on what you ask for. So, I constantly am praying, and I prayed for Father to show me, like, what am I idolizing? What is in the way of Him? Because there was a time that, like, I wasn't feeling as close to the Most High. So basically I was praying, like, what is in the way of you? And really He answered not only what, but who. Not only who, but like what tendencies of my own am I, like, is causing hindrance. Hello?
Did you bring me the cord, because the computer's saying to plug it?
Oh, okay. I'll bring it up very soon. I realized that my own self was causing a problem. That I was trying to do things on my own strength. I stopped praying before I left the house. On my commutes, I would let myself just get too tired, or I'll try to get into the Word and try to, overcome things on my own strength, or overcome situations with others on my own strength, and that is just quite impossible. So thankfully I've came out of my breakdown, and I realized, Kay, it's finally time to, like, lay down the law, okay? You have to put your foot down. And that's when I finally put my foot down and started to say, okay, a lot of people, a lot of things of my own is consuming my mind, where I'm literally feeling anxiety. And I was like, your closeness with the Most High is on the line. No. The enemy thought he wants me to be, first of all, he wants us to be tossed to and fro, defeated, to be tired, to be lazy. But no, we have to constantly check ourselves, put our own strength down, and truly abide in the Most High. So that's why I was like, you know what? I was realizing so clearly, and the Most High forced me to realize this by, by showing me through an emotional breakdown, and this hysterical cry was needed to show me I need to cut certain things off. Cut certain things, certain people, certain habits, certain ways of mine off. And this is where His mercies and His strength works in our weaknesses, because where we're weak, where we think that we're trying on our own accord, we are not, okay? And we have to constantly be in the Word, because He sends a word for us. Keeping myself and sustaining myself in Him, and not allowing myself to be all over the place. And thinking of what woman do I want to be? I want to be a strong, a courageous, a assertive, biblical woman. And those things were not helping me. Those people that I idolize, those situations, those habits, those things that I was concealing and not confronting and sweeping under the rug and trying to put a good face, it was not helping me. And spiritually, I was like not doing right. Essentially, I'm thankful that the Most High allowed me to feel it, to confront it, to process it for a weekend, and I could step away from like filming so I can come back with my head back on straight. Next to this recap, and lastly, is just like amongst all this spiritually that was going on in the past 8 months, now that I'm working at my job for 8 months now, I guess just to premise or remind you guys, I graduated last year May, in architectural studies, and I'm now working as an architect in New York at a firm which will not be mentioned. I'll just say at an engineering firm, and working full-time, working in the city, an hour and a half commute, which, well, to and from, which is a large adjustment. I had really huge adjustments in the last 8 months, and basically, while I'm grateful for them, I'm still learning, I'm still adjusting, I'm still transitioning. I'm constantly learning on the job, learning every day, and I love to learn, I do. But I'm learning that, like, I'm learning as well at my job how to or when to disclose about my visual impairment and navigating that, like, if need be, to disclose it. But navigating it in my day-to-day, because while I'm on like construction sites and things like that, like, it's very visual heavy, or things like retaining information. There's a lot of information to learn because I dove into a large corporation. So in terms of retention, like in grade school, growing up, and whatever have you, like in my academic career, like I had a learning delay and had to, you know, and came from, you know, settings like special ed or small classroom settings to catch up, but then eventually advocated to go to college preparatory classes and larger classrooms, etc. And then in college, I did pretty well. I mean, I had my accommodations set and I was navigating. Then there was remote school, as you guys know, and probably seen on my older videos here. But college was different because I still could do my own thing and like, and basically navigate that there. But in the workplace, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a lot to learn, which I'm learning, but I realized that through all this, like for my personal, spiritual, and work life, like I was in a survival and a fight or flight mode, and which I was going, but now like that, like start of work momentum is coming down, and now I'm trying to get my rhythm, and there's a whole new thing for me to learn. Like my first 8 months was kind of like learning and doing, and I kind of had a knowing of what I was doing, basically, strictly because in architecture school I was heavy in drafting. I knew how to do floor plans. I graduated with like a strong level of knowing. So when I started my job, I was doing mostly design work. I was like, this is what I know. And I was able to expand in what I knew because I was learning more about codes, learning more about construction documents and how to arrange them, and different things of that nature. So now I kind of switched to more of a project management angle, and there's a whole lot to learn. I have a lot to retain. So thankfully for my big cousin, I was sharing this with her, and she's like, I'm going to do the same thing at my job, and I got my handy dandy flashcards. So I'm like, grand idea, so simple. Why didn't I think of it? So I'm currently about to like flashcard it up. I'm gonna run to Dwayne Reed probably one of these days. There's one by my job. In New York, there's like several. It's like Dwayne Reed City. You definitely use that flashcard technique, and most especially because for work presently, I feel like I'm back to school. I need to study the bulk of this booklet. We have this training, this CAP-M training for project management. I'm not sure if any of you guys are project managers, know of it, I don't know. But we had this 3-day boot camp, which basically covered this entire book, which I had this course like back in March 20th. So I need to get on this soon. But basically after the course, you are to schedule your exam. And the exam is 3 hours, but I'm gonna commit this book to memory. I have to study and I have to learn new things for my job and like understand the processes there, because there's so much, like I said, there's so much to retain. Now that I switched like departments, there's new things to learn in that department. New things to learn in general, professionally, how things operate, corporate dynamics, working with people, which I'm good in, so I thought. But I'm 8 months in and there's several things to learn in the workplace, but here is the journey, and it will be a journey stepping into the corporate life. So I'm hoping it's not too dark right now. That is the end of today's video. I will keep you guys posted. It is about 41. I have a few hours until well, an hour and a half or so until I should probably get ready to go to sleep, because I work in the morning and have to be up and out. I leave the house at like 5:45 to be at work at 7:30. I'm glad that I got my clothes folded though, because that was the goal. Now I could put these away, set my room right. If you guys watch my Instagram stories, you guys know that I'm good for my time lapses often. I know you guys enjoy, so I'm about to get that going. And I pray you guys have a blessed day, night, weekend, morning, whatever time you guys are watching this. And love you. Comment down below if you guys are working as well, or in school, or battling new adjustments as well. I don't know, let's chat up in the comments, and I shall see you guys. So, bye. Ooh. Hey, I got that in one take, I think.